What is going on, traders? It's Johnny here with Trader X. Thank you guys so much for tuning on back into the channel today. I really do appreciate all of your support. I hope you guys are all having a really good Friday today, and I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a recap as usual and let you guys know how my trading did go. And so as you guys can see from the screens, unfortunately today was a red day in terms of my day trading. I was down $82.64 on the inverse ETF of the NASDAQ, ticker symbol SQQQ. And then what you guys will also notice is I was up almost $300 on Tesla, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and explain exactly what ended up happening today. These are my filled orders as usual. You guys can see the timestamps on the left of when I was trading, the quantity I was trading with, the ETF itself, which I only traded one, and then the price points here that I was buying in and selling at on the right. And so let me go ahead and get into today's recap. And what I pretty much wanted to talk about was where I went wrong. And so right at market open, what we did notice was an increase in volume that caused this thing to shoot up and change direction, right? So all of pre-market, we were selling off, making these lower highs and lower lows. And right when market opened, this thing shot up to middle VWAP incredibly fast, right? And so I decided to try to take a SQQQ position, given the fact that it shot up so significantly fast, right? And I thought, given this consolidation, that we were going to see a drop and for it to start making these lower highs and lower lows, right? But ultimately, that's not what ended up happening. This thing ended up shooting up, right? And continuing to make these higher highs and higher lows. So I ended up stopping out of SQQQ. And I believe once more, once this thing broke below the EMA, I decided again and again, and I got stopped. And that's pretty much how I was losing my money. I was thinking that we were finally seeing the top of the market, and that wasn't necessarily the case. So I decided to stop trading given that I was losing money consistently and it was choppy to me. And we ultimately did see it start to sell off. And I decided to get into SQQQ once this thing picked up here for a potential sell off to bottom VWAP, but I was already too late to the party, as you guys can see, because this thing already sold off a significant amount before it changed direction. So after it found a support, right around where it did market open, it ended up changing direction on the day and completely soaring. So it was making these higher highs and higher lows. And I decided at the end of the market that I was actually going to load off on the shares of Tesla that I bought in with yesterday. And let me go ahead and explain to you guys why. So as you guys can tell, the NASDAQ, right, has been very bullish lately, right? So we haven't seen these higher highs and higher lows. It will have corrections, but it has been making ultimately the higher highs and higher lows, and because of this it's been driving the price of Tesla up with it. So as you guys will see, right, Tesla right now is trading at almost $900 a share. It's up almost 6% on the day. And so if you guys saw yesterday's video, what you guys will notice is that me and my brother decided to get into Tesla with more shares. So we were in originally with 2 shares, right? But we decided to buy 4 more shares yesterday after the NASDAQ did break the resistance it was struggling to break before, which was around 12,700, right? And we are looking at the NASDAQ future. So ultimately, once it was able to break the resistance level, we decided that that was a good enough indication for us to average up into Tesla. And so we bought 4 more shares yesterday at around $840 a share, right? It was just below that price point. So as this thing ended up reversing, right? So right around this area, we bought in more. And as you guys can see, the market ended up soaring today as well. So, and it's important to ask yourself what exactly caused the market to rally like this. And I feel like it was a combination of a few things. One of them being there were a few reports that came out, like the PMI report, and they were pretty much not saying anything necessarily great news, but not anything too bad. And given the fact that the market is, nearing the end of the month, we were seeing a lot of bullish sentiment, right? So there's lots of buying pressure is what I'm trying to say, because of the fact that we have been having such nice bullish runs. And as you guys know, like the past 20 days, right, it's been consistently making these higher highs and higher lows. And given that fact, we are closing out the end of the month, and so lots of people were buying because of all of the news that we've been hearing about the market doing well and starting to recover. And so I decided to sell out of my Tesla shares because of the fact that I felt the market is a bit overextended and it did overreact to the news that has been following. So we have been seeing lots of the big tech stocks, like I've mentioned this week, like Amazon and Apple. They've had earnings and it's driven the price of the market up. And I just feel like the market is pretty overextended at the moment, and it's been kind of inflated because of the market reaction, right? So everyone's been overreacting, in a way of all the good news, and I just want to make you guys aware that there is a good chance that starting heading into the next month, we are going to start seeing some pullbacks. So the Nasdaq itself has been reversing, but it is still overall downtrending, right? Long term, bigger picture, it is still downtrending. It does tend to have these corrections where it does rally before it ends up pulling on back, right? So I'm not necessarily saying that's going to happen or it has to. I just wanted to do my part in locking in the profits that I made the past few days, right? That have been, it's pushed up a lot quicker than I expected it to. And because of that, I'm super happy, super blessed. And I'm deciding to lock in my profits on Tesla. So I still have 2 shares left in Tesla, but given how the Nasdaq tends to move too, this is the past 6 months we're looking at right now on the Nasdaq future. What you guys will notice is it'll fall, push back up, fall, push back up, fall, push back up, fall. It just pushed back up. So would it be that surprising if we saw this thing, fall before it does end up continuing to uptrend or continuing to downtrend? No, right? It wouldn't be the biggest surprise. So that's why I decided to, do my part in cutting my Tesla position. As you guys can see, Tesla has a pretty similar pattern, right? With the NASDAQ, which is expected. And so we do see these push ups and push downs, push ups, push downs, push ups. And then the market corrects itself, right? The price. And then it did make this higher high, as I mentioned today. And so that's why I decided to cut my shares there. I am expecting some form of pullback before we do ultimately decide to uptrend. So that's why I decided, to only hold 2 shares. That way, if the market does pull back, I did my part in locking in profits. But at the same time, if it continues to run, I still have 2 shares in, and I'm happy with profiting off that. So that's ultimately I wanted to talk everything I wanted to talk with you guys about today. I did want to mention that this trade itself wasn't necessarily bad, but the fact that I kept trading through choppiness was really what did me wrong. And what I need to work on as a trader and what I really struggle with is learning to trade at times when it's smart to, times when direction is in your favor, and learning to stop trading at times where it's choppy and, direction isn't really decided. And what I mean is, for example, this thing shot up like crazy. I got into the inverse ETF, not the dumbest idea, but it did ultimately start to uptrend and break below the EMA. And after burning myself a few times, I should have taken a step back and waited. And ultimately, as this thing broke below the EMA, it started to break through the supports it had in the past. And I could have definitely at least made money once this thing broke below middle VWAP and, try to correct itself here. I could have tried to go with the flow, right? Given the fact that it was struggling to hold. And I could have made money on this sell off. And then given the fact that it was approaching previous support levels where it did tend to bounce, I could have been more aware of that, and I could have maybe switched directions, got into the ETF TQQQ, and made money on the rally up as well as Tesla pushing up, right? So, in a perfect scenario, I would have done that, but I am just trying to work every day to try to get better at it and try to, learn better practices and try to implement them in my trading. But yeah, I hope you guys all learned something new from today's recap. As far as what I plan on doing, I do plan on averaging back up with another 4 shares. So I have, a market value of around $5,000 in Tesla, but I need to wait for the Nasdaq to pull back, a significant amount because it did push up, like I mentioned, very quickly. And as you guys can see on the larger time frame, the Nasdaq tends to break above the EMA. At least it did last time before it gets rejected. So we are at that area. I do expect some form of pullback to the EMA line before we actually start to potentially bounce on it. And that's when I'm going to decide to average in again and then potentially add, even more to my position. And my goal is to try to be in with $10,000 in Tesla and try to riding it up, right? But I just need to make sure direction's still in my favor, and we are at that type of critical point where the Nasdaq can either start to break below the EMA and sell off, or continue to uptrend. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about in today's video. I hope you guys all ended green and are enjoying your Friday. If you guys are new to the channel, we really do appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. It really, really does mean a lot to us. And that's pretty much it. On Monday, my brother will be trading and posting the recap. If any of you guys have any questions at all, just go ahead and drop a comment and we will go ahead and answer it. But other than that, we will see you on Monday. Take care and have a good rest of your weekend.